all hell's breaking loose. You know, so we got Elon Musk smoking weed with Joe Rogan.
Yes, and then I heard his stocks went down. Which that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, you know, it's, you know, and then Obama's back on the campaign trail, and he's already been president. I think that's hysterical. It was great, though. I watched his speech. It was an hour speech in the University of Illinois.
Yeah,
and I thought it was quite good. I always found him to be a quite a good orator.
He's a very good speaker, and his speeches are good.
Yes.
Now he talks the talk. To me, as a bona fide leftist, he doesn't walk the walk, and he never did. He was really quite a conservative president.
You know, I think so, and I am not a political pundit by any means, but it, you know, I watched it. I watched his speech. I saw the I think just impotent response of Trump that he fell asleep during it. Of course he didn't fall asleep. You watched the whole thing, you arrogant prick.
Yeah.
But and then I watched immediately, well, as immediately as possible, the Fox News reaction.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're like petulant children. You know?
Yes.
I mean, what you just said, most you know, that's probably true. You and I could probably spend the next hour talking about the efficacy of the speech and the truth and the holes in it or not holes.
Right.
But Fox is just so they're nonsensical about their reaction.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, and then Colin Kaepernick, and his new ad.
Yeah.
He, you know, I just don't understand that whole situation. I don't want to get into it at all with anybody, because you know, Nike is they're a business. They're going to make some money.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's literally making millions and millions of dollars with his new Nike brand, having been a second string quarterback, not a very good one from what I understand.
Yeah. Well, he had, you know, the thing about Kaepernick as a quarterback was, and again, I'm a 49er fan.
Okay.
So he was great when, you know, the first, but I thought...
Was he ever good? Was he good at once?
He was good.
All right.
He was good. But again, he had a good team.
Yeah.
And they were saying, is he the greatest ever? I thought, wait a minute. He's only played at this time, not even a full season, because Alex Smith had gotten injured. So he hadn't even played a full season. I thought, wait a minute. This is just like any other sport. A guy can come up. He's got to be around 5-6 years and have steady, you know, numbers like he was showing before we can say, yeah, this guy's really good.
Yeah.
So I don't think he. And then the second year, you know, he did really well too.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, no, he just didn't live up to
I
it.
guess in today's social justice media, you know, world, I can't fault anybody for extending their value. I don't know if what he's doing is a value to anyone except Nike for a while. I mean, it's a blip, but I don't understand it. I just don't understand why this particular subject has stayed in the news cycle.
It isn't. You're right. It is. It's one of these things. It's just a smokescreen to help us. This is something that Donald Trump has done throughout his 2 years. Whenever anything really starts to heat up, he's got to bring up some issue like the national anthem bullshit or something else to try to deflect attention away from it or to get his base, his minority base, in a lather. Yeah. You know, and he knows that there are certain hot button topics. You know, last week you had mentioned. Again, we're talking about you know, hey, Trump will be gone in 4-8 years, whatever, and then in the history it'll be fine. The problem that I have, and I wish that were the case, is that he's doing irreparable damage, either to the environment, his Supreme Court picks. I think that we're going to be stuck with for years and years. I mean, probably my lifetime.
Sure.
Some of these decisions, which are not popular, if they overturn Roe v. Wade. The majority of people think a woman has the right to choose what to do with her body. The majority of people. Well, we don't live in a democracy, really, when it comes down to it. There's a lot of things people will say, yeah, we think now the majority of people, both Democrats and Republicans, believe in a Medicare for all type of, we need to do something about our health insurance. We're not going to get it. They believe college costs are outrageous. And again, when I went to college, it was $250 a quarter to go to the University of California.
State school, yeah.
A state school. Yeah. And even Stanford at that time was, really wasn't a lot more than it is now. Mm-hmm. But it's a private school. Mm-hmm. But the state schools are now really, really expensive for a lot of people. And that's what people think, we're not going to get it. right? It's just like, okay, well, we live in a, no, we don't. We vote for, we just don't get what we want.
Yeah. What's interesting is Trump loves Vegas. I mean, there's an obvious reason to me, but he absolutely loves Vegas. I mean, we're sort of on this island, because he's always talking about the battleground states, and he's he's stumping everywhere for because in the next 2 months we have some pretty important decisions to be made.
Yeah.
But he loves Vegas, and my opinion is that he loves Vegas because Vegas is now riddled with his corporate contemporaries.
Yeah.
Now I'm assuming but however I've never ever seen Trump either prior to or during or after his presidency with Adelson. I've never seen them together, and you would think they would be, but at the same time, I don't think Adelson's background, being Israeli and Jewish, and that level, I think it's not necessarily attractive to Trump. I don't know if he wants that, but I don't know. But also, Adelson, however much we feel that his business dealings are certainly underhanded, he is a savvy business person. He's of the Carnegie level, and Trump is not. I really don't think he is. And
he just thinks he is.
He thinks he is, yeah. But he loves Vegas, which kind of brings us to what we're talking about. You and I have talked about gambling. And why don't you gamble? What was sort of the main reason?
It's I guess because I see through the illusion of it. I guess because I mean, there's always, checks and balances. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna, if somebody, for example, they want to eat a food they really like, they say, well, it's really fattening. Chances are it is. That's why it tastes good, right?
Yeah, of course.
But I can always say, well, you know what? I can do that now. I don't have a weight problem. Whatever. I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna be fine. Or they could say, well, I'm on a diet. I'm really trying to get to this weight. No, I can't, because the benefits don't outweigh the negative aspects of it, right? So it's the same, I think, with gambling. Remember when our old friend, Larry Flint,
oh yes,
he had said after being paralyzed, because he used to play at the Venetian, he was a whale,
all the time, yeah.
And he had said that gambling became a substitute for sex for him.
Yes.
And I can see that there is a thrill.
Yeah.
And that the thrill and the adrenaline gets pumping, and it's almost like a drug effect.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's that it doesn't give me that thrill, especially when I know that the chances are I'm going to lose money, and people are always gambling on. Well, and I guess it's the same thing also that people that like to play stock market or anything else where there's risk.
Yeah.
There's an attraction and a repulsion to risk. And I think that's what it is. It's that interplay of, I shouldn't do this, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And I think, whatever that feeling is that that's what people are chasing when they gamble.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they'll remember, everybody will say the same thing. I think it was the comedian Carlos Mencia, thank you. He had said, he was on one of the local TVs. He played in Las Vegas. He goes, everybody I ever talked to that come here always says when they play, oh, I lost, but I was winning. It's like they had been ahead. Everybody says it. I was winning before I lost.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, why didn't you quit? You can't, right? That's the whole thing. You're chasing that, and I think that's where the appeal comes in.
Yeah. It's amazing. We mentioned Joe Rogan and Carlos Mencia in the same podcast.
Yeah.
They had a huge problem with the joke stealing. So, yeah. Welcome to Pod Bay Door,
Thank
John.
you.
Hello to everybody. Thanks for downloading and connecting to us. Hello to our friends at CWOdesigns.com, custom woodworking and now custom photography and framing. They do a fantastic job. Check those guys out. It's CWOdesigns.com. Great guys over there. So why do we gamble? You brought up some great points. I spent some quality time on Psychology Today and Scientific Quarterly, and they all have some interesting things to say. You sort of in a nutshell brought almost everything up at the same time. But the number one thing that attracts people, and however the caveat was that you have to have a predisposition for this type of brain activity and attraction to it. Like you said, the way they describe it is a sense of anticipation. Now, the anticipation may be of a negative or a positive, because the brain is reacting the same way to this anticipation. And there is the chemical, of course, is adrenaline. There's a rush of it, just like anything. They actually equate it to a scare. It's just an immediate scare, not
why horror movies are popular.
Exactly.
Right? It's a safe scare,
and it's not impending. It's actual. It's real time scare, and so the brain is reacting to that, and almost immediately provides you that adrenaline, and of course the
and it's probably
serotonin.
The same thing why people like to watch sports.
Yes.
I mean, if it's a good game, if it's the Super Bowl or World Cup, and it comes down to the last minute. There's that excitement,
right?
And if the game if it's already, if it's World Cup and it's 3-0, or if it's a Super Bowl and it's a blowout, it loses that edge. People turn it off because they're looking for something. It's not there. I got to watch this. I got to see what happens.
So, and of course the chemical that is released along with the adrenaline that causes the body to react to it, both negatively and positively, dopamine, and that's the same chemical that reacts to drug usage, car accidents.
Yeah, and it's probably why the two go together, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have gambling and drinking. I mean, that's what this town is founded on.
Yes.
And granted, the more they drink, their judgment goes out the door. So they're making poorer decisions gambling, which is good for the house. Mm-hmm. But also, it acts as people who like to mix things, to always look for a better high. Mm-hmm. I even remember back in the 60s and 70s, people that I knew would try to, they would take their marijuana, they take their grass, and they would try to, let's see if I can somehow pump this up. I'm going to soak it in alcohol, whiskey, and then dry it. See if that gives it any better effect.
Oh, God.
Let's see, it's the same thing. They snowball stuff, and let's mix this and mix that, and see if it'll give us a better edge. So you mix in alcohol, and you've got the adrenaline rush from the roll of the dice. How's it going to come up?
Yeah.
I won, great, and it's the highs and the lows. It's the same thing with drugs, up and down.
Now, one of the doctors that was he was actually making mention that one of his theories is that we actually don't lose, or there are things that impair our judgment. It's not really impairing the judgment; it's impairing the brain's ability to judge. But he says that the dopamine creates a system in the brain that parses judgment, and that that's prioritized, then lower. Gambling becomes higher. It's like, I want to play.
Yeah.
I want to do this. Children, tuition, no.
Yeah.
I want to play this. And he said it's not an impaired judgment. It's a deprioritized judgment. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now the second reason, and again, these are combinations of the two, Psychology Today and Scientific Quarterly, escapism, which does not have to do with a chemical response. A lot of people think that they're going to. It's a betterment syndrome. They think they're going to better their lives by gambling. They have a dull life. They have an unremarkable, daily, weekly, annual life, and they think that 2-3 days in Vegas, they're going to change everything.
Yeah.
And they just feel that it's the sights, the sounds, the smells, and it's all an improvement on where they're coming from. The doldrums of being a mailman or working at Amazon or being a call center person, going to Vegas, then everything is different. Everything is I'm a better person for those 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, they say that regardless, there is a dopamine release, even just coming here. It's the end, like you said, the anticipation of it. And then the third reason sort of follows very quickly. It's fashionable, it's cool to come here, and I don't know, is it still cool to come here? I know it's fun.
Yeah,
but
I don't know,
cool?
because when I think about go back to the 60s, you think about the Sean Connery and James Bond movies, almost always scene where they're gambling somewhere, usually Monaco.
Monaco.
They're in there and they're gambling or whatever. So that was the cool part of it, right?
I think
that
so.
was
Sex.
cool.
And one of the words they coined is sexy.
Yeah.
You know, you become a different person when you're here, which again, the marketing machine that was what happens here stays here.
Yeah.
That paralleled it. You know, it's like, it's sexy to be here.
Yeah.
You know, the new one is be yourself or be anybody else you want to be. Again, sexy girl, sexy guy, sexy club. It's sexy to be here.
Yeah, they market it as being kind of like a big whorehouse where different rooms. You want to try the S&M? Hey, if you ever had that, you know, that's over there.
Right.
You know, if you want the if you're into the if you got a Lolita complex, go over there.
Yeah.
You know, and you can kind of indulge in your fantasy there, and then go back to delivering the mail in Des Moines or wherever. You know. But and I think that was the other thing is people would come here thinking that I'm the hot shot because they had this idea that everybody who walks in the door they think is they're going to kiss their ass because they're going to be gambling.
Right.
So I can talk down to people. We got fed that all the time. People
Absolutely.
just and I'd wonder. I wonder if this guy really in his day-to-day life is this guy really such an asshole? You know, 24/7. It was like going to a metal concert and seeing some guys and like, where the fuck did that guy come from?
Right.
I mean, does he actually have a job or he has to live somewhere? But Jesus, look at this dude. And then you realize sometimes. I met a guy at Psycho Las Vegas last year, and he had this jacket. And I had to tell him, I said, "Hey, dude, I like your jacket." He had all these patches all over the jacket of every rock band I could think of that went back to Led Zeppelin. And he was a little bit of an older guy, like 50s, and I started talking about. He was a local, and he had a real white collar job. And he said, "Yeah," he says, "but this is my." He says, "But I like metal," so he says, "I take 4 days off of work because I don't want him to see me like this." And then he can indulge that other side of himself.
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It is the term they use in their article is high society. Now it's a bit dated, but I think that's very true. You do. Yeah. You walk in and you immediately perceive yourself now as different.
Yes.
Now, if you weren't wearing cargo shorts and flip flops and a t-shirt, you might be perceived as different.
Yes. Right.
But no, you do. You think you do think you're better. You think you've got a little bit more, you're more suave, and everything has changed. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It is like a giant swingers club with themed rooms.
Yes.
And every hotel is a themed room, and inside every hotel are a bunch of more themed rooms. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like a giant green door.
In Japan, it was really, really common for the love hotels.
Yeah.
They would have these, and some of them were really elaborate. And what a lot of people didn't know with the Love Hotel was most of the people that go to Love Hotels were married. Mm-hmm. It was that, they live in a small house. They got the grandmother there and the kids and, hey, they need a little time to themselves. So they would just check in. You can check in. They're really nice, and you could check in there for a few hours. But then they had the themed ones. And I used to have an apartment that was not very far from the UFO Love Hotel. Now, I never went in that one. It looked a little bit too grungy. But yeah, I mean, it was basically like, hey, if you wanted to get it on in a spaceship or whatever, they had a castle. Who doesn't? They had a Statue of Liberty, for Christ's sake. Remember the Love Hotel that was shaped like the Statue of Liberty? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, but nevertheless, it was like feed your fantasy. And Japan has always been known as this Disneyland of fetishness.
Yes.
They have all kinds of.
Oh, I think and Japan, I believe I'm still accurate in saying that they love and soak up like a sponge United States marketing. Yeah. And then it sort of gets bastardized when it gets there. It's a little different. Japanese people, the way they enjoy our stuff is very different. Yeah. But the next thing they said was, and it's quite obvious, and I think it was interesting. The article itself drew a parallel to church. Yeah. It's social. And it's very true. If you think about it, we're indoctrinated into gambling very soon. I mean, board games. Yes. Little home poker games. Yes. You start playing with your mom and your dad and your aunt and your uncles, and you play awful, stupid games like hand and foot and all these other things. And then you graduate to your friends and playing poker and everything else. And it's very social. And that's their comparison. Obviously, church is a very social thing, but I think now the sociability of Las Vegas much like the rest of our country and the world, because of the Facebooks and the Instagrams and everything else. I think that's changing. I don't think we're not actually being social.
No, not at all.
By definition. And I think Vegas is turning into that as well. Vegas, there's an anonymity to how you enjoy Vegas. And I think that's problematic in my opinion. I think they're going to get their comeuppance with the way they're turning Vegas. But again, Vegas is going to outlast us all. She'll be fine. But it used to be very social. You and I always bring up, and you were close to experiencing. I was not. The days of the Rat Pack, the days of dressing up and going out. It was social. I mean, you specifically went out to enjoy your company, enjoy other people, and to be seen. And now it's a little different. People want to be seen, but it's not the same way. They want to be seen, Instagramming it.
Yeah, and remember, I on the blog I'd written that article, where in it I'd mentioned an interview with an architect who had mentioned that in the old days, like in the 50s. The hotels were kind of designed with the American dream in mind. It had a big swimming pool, and this was kind of the dream. And even if you couldn't afford that house, the ranch-style house with the pool, hey, you can come to Las Vegas and kind of share in it for a couple of days.
Right.
So that's where the whole thing with the pools came in. And everybody's got to have a bigger pool or a nicer one or whatever. But, I don't think you can say that today, that somehow Las Vegas feeds into everybody's dream.
I don't think so. Yeah. I think that especially if you maintain separate definitions of dream and fantasy, I think it still answers the question or fulfills a fantasy level. Just like we were saying, when people walk in and they perceive themselves as different or better when they walk in, or they're smarter and they're more savvy when they gamble. But as far as their dreams, no, I don't think so at all. I think it's a tarnished fantasy right now that's being met. But the last one that kind of follows that is that there is the perception that Vegas is low risk, high yield.
Yes.
That is not true.
That is not true.
That is not true even in the basest mathematics, the most simple penny machine. That is not true at all. And that's always been since the day Bugsy was standing in the desert ready to put the first screw into the walls. It's not true. I mean, it's absolutely the opposite, and it's strange how people perceive that to be. And it's entirely high risk.
Yeah, and you watch the ads always. It's funny. You watch an ad for a telephone, and the people who are talking, you see them on the phone. They're always smiling. Now, I don't know. I never smile when I talk on the phone. Do you? You ever seen anybody
Only
smile?
When I talk to you, John.
It's the same thing with gambling. Everybody's jumping up and down. Hey, I won. Yeah. I won. Yeah. Wait a minute. Show the people who lose. Now, when I first moved back here the second time. My son, Gio was like in the 4th grade, and we're going to go to a buffet. I think we went to the one at the M, and we're waiting in line. And of course, the buffet's in the casino, right? So he's standing there and he's watching people play the slot machines that they had up there. From a distance, he's there watching. And he says, and he asked me, why do people play those games? I said, well, I guess they're fun. I mean, you like to play your games here. Yeah. He goes, yeah, but sure. He said, I watch them, they don't ever seem to win. Yeah. Because he sees them. He can tell when they win. Yeah. He says they don't ever seem to win very much. I said no, and they're not going to remember that. But if they do win, that's what they'll remember, because they hang on to that split second of thrill of yes, I hit it. I get back $20 out of the. I had to put $300 in to win that 20. But that's what they'll remember. I was winning.
And yet it's very common. All too common, I think, which perpetuates the problem. Yeah. Megabucks, all the progressives, how much you put in? Maybe $20. Yeah. Most of the winners are like in $20 before they win the big one.
Yeah.
And the stories are large in number.
And I wonder if it's the same thing. I was thinking about here it is Saturday. On Saturdays, any place I've ever lived in the U.S. is somebody's having a garage sale or something like that, and there are people. That's their hobby, is to go to garage sales because they're always looking for a deal. Oh, yeah. And I think it's the same adrenaline rush. Everybody's hoping to find, for $1.50 to buy an old picture of, a bowl of fruit and say, well, I really want that frame. That's why I'm buying it. So as they try to take out this shitty picture of the bowl of fruit, they find behind it, an unknown Rembrandt or something that's worth $1 million,
yes.
a Jackson Pollock or something. And it's like, whoa, this is worth $1 million. Or back there, stuck back there was a Hannes Wagner baseball card. And they always think maybe this is the day that I find that,
Yeah. I love, I gotta say, the Antiques Roadshow is pretty cool when they find the great stuff.
Yeah.
Now, on the dark side of this conversation, we've already talked about this, about the negatives of gambling and whatnot. And, to each his own, everybody has to seek their own remedies. But there actually has been documented, the scientific documentation of a portion of the brain that is actually termed the reward system.
Yeah.
And dopamine is its main, feeder, if you will. But the problem is that like most of our body will course correct and counteract an overabundance of what it considers to be negative. And that's what happens. The dopamine hits. First time we gamble, oh my God, this is amazing. Or, oh my God, there's that Jackson Pollock, and oh my God, And then the next one is, oh my God, that's great. I feel great and everything else. But slowly.
Yes, it's like heroin. You have to keep upping the dose, right?
And gambling is no different.
Yeah.
It's amazing because gambling doesn't require the tangible intake of a substance. It's literally all of our senses combining into one interaction that creates the same response as something that is tangibly put into our bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I find that amazing. But again, what's even more amazing is why, for example, the two people in the studio here don't want to. I've gambled. Yeah. I've won enough. I've won some fun things, but I don't want to do it again. And based on that, because it was stressful to get there. I got paid and wanted to run out of the casino. You couldn't stop me. Now my wife is totally different. My wife, we kind of need to pull out the divorce papers, take away the credit cards, and get the straitjacket. And then allow her to go to the Green Valley Ranch for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to me, the dichotomy that two people can be so vastly different when it comes to one stimulus. Or a bunch of stimuli, I guess, and she has confirmed that gamblers have a unique ability to then course correct again. It's like, okay, dopamine, excited, love gambling. Oh, I need more, and then the body does something very different. Then it starts to say, I don't care, I just want to do this. It's no longer exciting.
Yeah,
I don't even want to win. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I don't want to win. I don't care about winning. Win, lose, whatever. I just want to do this with my finger. I just want to push this button.
Yeah.
And I want to sit here and be miserable. And they are, and if anybody wants to argue with me, I live with one.
Yeah.
They're miserable and they love being miserable.
Yeah. It reminds me, I think I've told this story before in one of the earlier podcasts, but it's probably been a while. My aunt was married. Oh, she was married a lot of times. And she probably would have been married more if she had not died in her mid-50s. But her last husband, his name was Jerry, he really liked horse racing and gambling on the horses.
Yeah.
Well, he had a pretty hefty life insurance policy on my aunt, and then she died of cancer. And then his mother, she got old and she died and left her house. He was the only son. So anyhow, he ended up with $1 million. He was a millionaire.
Uh-huh.
This going back probably into the 80s. So that was, on today's scale, Mark, would be even a lot more money than that.
Right.
He had been a cab driver. He drove a taxi. So he really wasn't a member of the family in the sense that, he was just married in. So he kind of disappeared. We didn't see from him for years. And then my aunt's son, my cousin, ran into him just out of the blue one day, and a few years later. And Jerry said, He quit his job driving taxi.
Mm-hmm.
He had his, because here he is, he's got a lot of money. He went to the racetrack every day. He sat with the same bunch of degenerates, hopeless gamblers.
Right.
He bet on the horses every day. And in 3 years, he was broke and had to go back to driving taxi again. And he was dead 2 years after that.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. I mean, a reasonable person, you and I would probably go to the racetrack. Once we started losing, I mean, even if we liked going, after about a week, we just say, hell with this.
Yeah.
I'm going to find something I'm good at.
Right.
I'm not going to throw away all my money doing this.
Yeah.
But no. And it was just like, I guess for him, it was just, again, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And even though, hey, I'm down $500,000, either I'm going to win it all back tomorrow, or I'm going to win some of it back, or it doesn't matter. It's this. I'm on this slope down to hell. May as well write it out.
Right. Well, guys, if you have any comments or questions about this, or we'd love to hear why you gamble, why you don't gamble, why you love Vegas, why you hate Vegas. Let us know. We get a lot of comments and concerns and everything involving Vegas, and John and I love to get all those questions and have you guys participate in our conversations. But again, thank you to our sponsor, CWOdesigns.com. Custom woodworking. I've seen their work. They do a wonderful job, now offering custom photography and framing. Check those guys out at CWOdesigns.com. And for John, this is Jamie, and we will see you next week. Thanks to everyone listening and watching. You can catch the Podbay Door on the Podbean app or any of your favorite podcast apps, including iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and Stitcher Radio. You can watch the show on our YouTube channel at the Podbay Door Podcast. Please download, like, and subscribe. Our social connectivity screen is coming up. Check in with us on Facebook, Twitter, and WordPress. The Podbay Door is closed and talent is out. Hey everybody, thank you very much for tuning into the show. We would love to hear your show suggestions and comments. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, please click to subscribe. You can also connect with us on Facebook using @PBD Podcast, on Twitter using @TPBD Podcast, and on WordPress at thepodbaydoor.wordpress.com.